That's called Here's New York, and that's all in lowercase, by the way. The title taken from E. E. Cummings' famous Here's New York short essay or piece about New York and the possibility, written right after the World War II, of airplanes coming in and just destroying the city by hitting things. It came about right after 9/11, or probably 10 days, maybe 2 weeks max. Students in my department started putting up pictures on the wall, sort of about what they'd seen, or pictures of the Twin Towers. And my friend Michael Schulin had owned a small building with some other people where he lived, had a vacant storefront on Spring Street in Soho, between, what is that? I guess between Worcester and Broadway. And he put a picture that he found in a flea market of the Twin Towers in a window, and then he noticed people started staring at it. So what happened was he called me, and then he called Alice Rose, the late Alice Rose George, who just died a month ago, and Jill Perez, and we had already planned to have a meeting in my department to figure out what, as photographers and as a concerned community, we could say and do about all this. Everybody was still pretty much in shock. And we all sort of came to the same idea that let's put pictures in that storefront and let anybody and everybody who wants to contribute do so. And we very quickly decided it would be called a democracy of photography. Here's New York, a democracy of photography, so that there was no prejudice to excluding anybody who wanted to contribute. And my students volunteered to go down, and we set up computers that SVA gave us, some scanners and printers. It sort of didn't quite evolve as fast as that. We had one or two, and then we had many, but it just became, people would pass by. Michael figured out how to hang them on wires with paper, with binder clips. And it became the living memorial of 9/11. It became the seminal first crowdsourcing exhibition. It's written about a great deal in the history now. It'll be 20 years come September, by the way. Over the course of a year and a half, 2 years, we collected, I think, over 10,000 images. We created a booth where you could leave your voice testament and be videoed, which they're making a film about it as we speak. We took pictures, as I said, from anybody and everybody. It could be a workman on the street, it could be a lawyer, it could be a fireman, a policeman, or a student, or a grade school kid. We printed them all the same size, and we didn't put anybody's name on the front of them. We had a numbering system for the back. And we realized people wanted them, and we started selling them for $40 a piece. We printed them there on Epson printers. And I think we produced over 40,000 pictures, something like that, in one way or another. Shows of this went around the world. I think something like 31 or 32 exhibitions. This was all done through volunteer labor. Eventually, we had to hire a staff for a stipend who worked every day. A lot of people who worked were out of work. We built, my son, in fact, with a team, built an interactive click and buy website. So we were doing it that way. In a matter of weeks, they had that up at a time when that wasn't so easy. It became the living memorial of 9/11. And it was a place you come in, bring your picture, we'll print it. we'll hang it, and it's like leaving a stone at the grave. It was fortunate that Alice had managed to call the Magnum people. She had worked at Magnum at one point, and it happened they were having their meeting, their annual meeting in New York, so they were all down there. We had a lot of them, Times photographers, a lot of professional photographers, but we didn't give them any kind of special treatment. Everybody was treated the same. In fact, there would occasionally be a photographer say, oh, my picture has to go in the window, or my picture has to hang over. You have to arrange it like this. No, fuck you, get out of here. You know, we're not putting up with that prima donna shit. And in the end, we gave away about 1,200,000, give or take, to the Children's Aid Society, which had set up a fund for children of essential workers in the building who had died. And it is now part of the Library of Congress, the archive, and the New York Historical Society. Unfortunately, the website where you can see everything is not functional at this point because technology changed, and the people who were supposed to manage it at these institutions did not manage it and keep it up. There is talk about raising money to get it back up for the anniversary, but we'll see what happens. It was a very wonderful thing to do. It was one of the things in my life where really a collective energy came together and created something remarkable that, frankly, no individual could take credit for other than as the group and as the participant. And it worked because it did allow a place to mourn. Celebrities would line up in line, lines would go down the block, and for 3 blocks lining up. I remember Susan Sontag being in line. I was just thinking about her. And one of the people on the staff said, do you want to come up and come on in? She said, no, I will wait in line. Bill Clinton came, he wasn't president. He was supposed to come just to visit. I'm throwing names around now, but for a couple of minutes, the Secret Service said, he stayed for about an hour. He talked to everybody. And he became almost so familiar that at one point I said, Bill, can I show you this? And I got a kick in my heel. It was Secret Service man, Mr. President. You don't call him Bill. So the other thing is that, and I think this is true in photography in particular, and probably in all the arts, it isn't the individual picture, it isn't the single icon that we have to sort out sometimes as the thing that represents the bigger thing. But in this case, it was the collective body of work that made the statement. Every show that we did had about 500 pictures in it. And it's the 500 that told the story, not any single picture by Joe Blow or Sally Smith or whoever, and we had people from all over the world, from ethnic backgrounds, giving pictures. It was the collective experience of those pictures. And I have a saying that I came out of it because I've come to learn it. One picture isn't worth 1,000 words, but 1,000 pictures by 1,000 people of the same kind of thing is really a kind of truth. It does tell you something really real. And I think that's true in the body of work of any given artist. I know it in my own. It isn't the single image, and there are iconic, so-called iconic pictures. It's the body of work that counts, and that goes for any artist. The body of work adds up to something bigger than its parts, a synergistic experience. And that was really an amazing one. It did become the foundation of the energy, I think, that for the 9/11 memorial. A good section of it hangs there. I have actually never seen it. I've never been in the memorial. I don't want to go. I spent 2 years looking at the tragedy pretty close to, and Kathy, as you know, lives 4 or 5 blocks from where it happened. I experienced it enough. The other thing is, as beautiful as that collective moment and New York was at that time, I'm ashamed of what this nation did in the name of 9/11. We lost 3,000 people, but for God's sakes, this past year we lost 560,000 people. And we're not even mourning quite the same way. And in Africa at the time, they were losing 3,000 people a day to AIDS or SARS or related illnesses that were unattended to. And we mourned, and we keep talking about how tragic, and it was a kind of single event, which you can focus on, but we did awful things in the name of it, and we've killed a lot more people in the name of it. And that's the lesson we're still yet to learn from it. There was a moment there in New York and all over the country where everybody came together. There's no question about it. And then, boom, we went back and used it as an excuse for all kinds of terrible things. So I've kind of moved on from it that way. I mean, one of my symbols for it, and I mentioned it the other night, I think at dinner, you realize that the Empire State Building was built in 13 months in the middle of the Depression, and it took over 13 years to build the new World Trade Center, or the Freedom Tower, they call it. That tells you something about the inefficiency, the politics, the bureaucracy, and the selfishness of American enterprises.